Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
All right, you can.
All right.
Probably.
All right. I would just end that argument. I'd be like, fine, just like go do stuff better. Leave me alone. I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Anything
good at
you can
different
do,
things.
I can do better. Yeah, I bet you can.
Yeah, I bet you can. Bye. Guys, welcome to Real Awkward, the realest awkward podcast you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
Today. That was a really awkward intro for the Real Awkward podcast.
Keeping it real.
My name's Andy.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Ashley.
Oh, fastest one yet.
Shit.
Fastest one
I've heard
yet.
some complaints.
Good.
Mostly from you.
Yeah. Do better. Guys, oh God, no, I'm the one coughing.
Uh-oh.
Guys, welcome to a street cred episode. Amanda, hit them with the facts.
Okay, here's the deal. So a street cred is where we pull up somebody's IMDb credits. We start all the way at the bottom, work our way all the way to the top. Now we're here. We're going to shit on some movies. We're going to say we haven't seen some movies. Depending on your 2023 bingo board, Andy's going to say he's never seen it, but still ask for the synopsis. He's going to relate it to a video game.
Maybe it's
I'm
12.
going to say I've probably seen it, but then didn't like it. We'll see what happens.
I love it. If you want to chat with a bunch of friends about movies, you came to the right spot. You've already clicked on the thumbnail, though, so you know exactly who we're talking about today. Thor, the Thunder God himself. Chris.
Thunder God.
Himself?
Sorry. Thanks a lot for ruining.
Can you just imagine the word himself like spelled out? Like
I also imagine if we really did
HISSELF.
have an
Himself.
actor in studio and they were just listening to this intro, waiting to like talk.
someday when we make it big, you will click on a celebrity's name to get to our episode, and it will actually be a celebrity.
Thank God for TikTok. Otherwise, we would not be listened to at all.
Honestly, I think it would be hilarious if we eventually get to the place where we do have a celebrity guest, but then I don't want them to say a word until the very end.
Just quiet. And they're like, thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
I just want to say that I apologize to all of the listeners who clicked on a Street Cred episode expecting that it was an interview with an actual celebrity and just got us talking about their stuff.
They're just, why is it three dipshits just talking about this guy's film work? I could look that up
Gotcha.
myself.
Who are you calling a dipshit? Dipshit.
So, by the way, that's what this episode is. It is.
Tut tut.
Today, Junior. Today, we are discussing the arts and crafts of Chris Hemsworth. Hemsworth?
The different cross stitchings people have done online.
Andy's going to have a hard time because he always says
I want to say
Chris
Hemsworth. Because I loved wrestling growing up, and it was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And
That is not even the same name.
no, not even close. But for some reason, I want to say it.
Hunter Hearst, Chris Hemsworth.
Let's be real. It's the same reason you say furniture.
And publicity.
Oh God. And then you say, I realized another one you say, it's instead of both, you say both, like BOLTH.
Both. Both of them. That's why. It's from Dumb and Dumber. Stuck in my head.
I don't know.
Weekend.
Yeah, I enjoy the week and other things like food. All right, Chris, thanks for hanging out in theater. I can't
In
even
theater.
Thanks for hanging out in the studio today. Spiritually.
Andy's drunk.
You're the one drinking.
Yeah.
I got water.
Nobody would know.
So, Ash, can you
Yes.
please?
Yes.
We are now at 5 minutes in. And we don't even know a single thing
Whatever.
this Aussie actor has done. Talk to us about him a little bit, and we'll jump into his movies.
Okay. Christopher Hemsworth was born August 11th, 1983 in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia,
Excellent.
to Leonie Hemsworth, an English teacher, and Craig Hemsworth, a social services counselor.
Oh, okay.
His brothers are actors Liam Hemsworth and Luke Hemsworth.
I don't know Luke.
I've seen him.
Yeah.
I've seen him pretending to be Thor.
Like in
Oh.
spoofy stuff?
Yeah. When?
He's in Thor Ragnarok. So, you know, like the scene in Thor Ragnarok where they're doing like the play of like Loki dying, and it's like Matt Damon.
Yeah.
The guy who's playing Thor is his brother.
Oh, I had no idea. That's funny. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Lastly, well, I guess not lastly, he is of Dutch, Irish, English, Scottish, and German ancestry.
Well, aren't we all?
His uncle by marriage was Rod Ansel, the bushman who inspired the comedy film Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Not a knife. This is a knife.
So there you go.
There you go. Okay, we know everything about him. Guys, thanks so much for listening to the Real Awkward Podcast.
Imagine. That was all
you just read an IMDb bio and then we end it. It's a 6-minute podcast. I think that would be wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about movies here. Let's say this. I'm going to say we know 40% of his films.
I was going to say, I know at least 5.
But
no, I know 6.
I don't know how long he was acting, so we'll see.
Well, he started in 2002.
Okay, that's
So
actually...
but probably not in America.
Yeah.
He would have been what, like almost 20?
2002? Yeah.
Yeah. So his first credit is 2 episodes of Guinevere Jones.
Lame.
He played King Arthur.
Well, that's not lame to play King Arthur. I like that.
And then
I
he
could
was
see
in
it.
1 episode of the show Neighbors.
Okay.
I don't know the show. Oh, but this is Australia, right? Australian, I think.
I think so.
Okay.
This show had 9,199 episodes.
Definitely Australian, because we would have known about that.
It's probably like an Australian soap opera or something.
Probably.
Oh, I bet you're right.
Probably not wrong.
I bet you're right.
He was in an episode of Martial Law, an episode of The Saddle Club, which is about horses,
Boring. But, I mean, if you're a horse fan, I'm sorry.
an episode of Fergus MacPhail.
I kind of want to watch that, whatever that is.
And then he was in 194 episodes of Home and Away.
Isn't that the bird and the plane?
That's Fly Away Home.
Oh, okay.
And that wasn't a show.
Isn't that Dakota Fanning and
That's Anna Paquin.
Anna Paquin?
I feel like Home and Away is probably like a Australian version of like the OC or something like that.
Oh, I see. Isn't that Jeff Bridges and Dakota Fanning? Anna Paquin and Jeff
Daniels.
Daniels, that's
Yeah.
right. Before she was Rogue. This was the prequel.
Yeah.
Before she was Rogue.
Next, he was George Kirk in Star Trek.
Yes.
Oh, that's where I first saw him, because I recognized him from the opening scene later in his films, and I was like, why does he look so familiar? And I went back and I was like, oh, that's right.
That was literally his first movie. Everything else was a television series.
I will tell you
interesting.
guys, I think that it was a missed opportunity not to have that original Kirk, his father, have a spin-off series.
Yeah.
Like, they should have done it, since they could do those alternate realities and stuff too, because they brought that into the films. It's really dumb that they didn't do that.
Fair enough,
So
especially
dumb.
especially seeing that they continued the Star Trek movies after Chris Hemsworth became popular in America.
Yeah.
That they could have had him in another one.
That's what a great casting for like one of his first films, though. That's a
Right?
big
Yeah.
budget effing blockbuster.
Yeah.
But his character's pretty small.
Yeah, he's only in it for the beginning, like the first
10
5 minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes. So, where you get Chris Pine's original Kirk, like his backstory type of deal. So,
Yeah.
why are you such a hot shot? Because my dad was.
I need to watch Star Trek again. I remember it being good, but I don't remember.
Would you ever watch
it.
the
No,
TV?
absolutely not.
She was talking. We were just talking about this. William Shatner, the original Kirk, is 91
I know.
or 92 years old, and he looks like he's 60.
Yes.
Like, he still looks amazing. And we were talking about this. We were like, how sad is it for this to be your staple franchise? It's what you're known about, and all the actors you did it with are almost all passed away.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
And he even said in an interview recently, because he just went to space, which was super cool. He got to actually go and like do the whatever travel it was. I don't remember like what it was, but he got to do this. And the cool part about it, though, is he's like, I know I don't have long to live. Like, he's very like aware that his time on this earth is really short and he's trying to make the best of it. But I don't know. I came from like thinking like the William Shatner character of Kirk was very like annoying to like endearing now. I don't know why. But and Priceline, I hated him in that or whatever it was.
In that,
Priceline
it was
negotiator.
Yes. But that has nothing to
liked
do with
it.
Chris Hemsworth. Let's get back. Oh, Hemsworth. I'm going to say it wrong the
Everyone
entire time
take
now.
a shot every time Andy says Hemsworth.
Helmsworth.
Next, he was in A Perfect Getaway.
Oh, yes. I remember that one.
Yeah, I seen it.
That's the one with like Steve Zahn,
Yeah. Is it?
and they're like in the jungle.
Is it Mila Jovovich or is it
Yeah.
somebody?
I don't know. It's like those
No.
two are like a boyfriend, girlfriend, and they die early, right? In the movie.
I don't remember.
And then
Honestly, I haven't seen this
Steve's
since it
on
came
and
out.
somebody else, or is he the one that survives and tries to get out of the jungle?
Dude,
/
I haven't
beach
seen that in
thing?
so long.
Yeah.
Right?
I only really remember the cover because I don't honestly remember the plot of the film.
I remember that I saw it.
Yeah.
I remember it being fine. Like it reminded me kind of like the jungle almost, like kind of generic thriller. Like,
Are you saying The Jungle because that was a movie? Because I've never seen that.
oh, I'm sorry. I mean The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, The Beach. Okay.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. I meant The Beach.
That's okay. That's okay. I was like, what is this
In my head, I
jungle
was
movie?
Like, it was based in a jungle, yes. His next movie is Cash.
I don't think I ever saw Cash.
The
I don't
S
even
is
think
a
I've heard of it.
dollar sign.
Give me the cash. Give me the cash.
That was so good. Then he was in Thor. I don't know
Wow.
if you've seen it.
Wait, he jumped. He like did like 3 movies, and they're like, you know what, bro? You're good enough to spawn this like multi-billion-dollar franchise.
grew
We'll trust you.
He grew his hair out and talked in the right accent, and they were like,
And dude, he got ripped for that role too, because he's not that big.
Honestly, I will say I hated his hair in Thor. It was awful.
Now that I go back and watch it, I agree with you. It's really bad.
They bleached his eyebrows,
Oh, I didn't realize that.
and I think he's wearing contact lenses. He looks very different.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if his hair's a wig in the first one, but
Interesting.
I hate his hair. Like I've been a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. I started watching all the Marvel movies in chronological order,
Oh, okay.
and the very first Thor, I was like, "This is awful."
Yeah,
This
I
is
didn't realize.
bad.
I didn't realize how bad it was until I went back and watched it from the other, like his costume design and his hair and makeup, way better done. The second one, like through, for most
Oh
of
yeah,
them. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you're right.
But for that being said,
Yeah.
for me hating his costume design, I thought that was good. I think for a lot of people don't really know like Thor's origins and stuff. I think this was a toe dip into getting into who the character is while still keeping it on Earth
Yeah.
for the most
Yeah.
part. I liked it. I think Anthony Hopkins as Odin was perfect.
He was great. I agree.
I think that casting is perfect. I think that Tom Hiddleston as Loki, he plays a good Loki.
There's no way he will be. God, who do we talk about? We talked about somebody else being a character that can never be recast. Maybe Iron Man, right? Like Robert Downey Jr.
I think we said Captain America too.
And Captain America. I feel the exact same way about Tom Hiddleston's Loki.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Loki can be recast and be like, oh yeah. That's no. He's
And
there.
have it be like the same character.
Yeah, I don't think that would work. But Chris Hemsworth's character in Thor is pretty El Generico. You know what I mean? Like he's not over
Yeah.
like over the top. I think a lot of people could probably play Thor. Like who wouldn't want to play a drunk Viking like all the time? So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the Thor, for the most part, it works. It introduced Hawkeye,
oh, that's right. I forgot about that. You're right.
and so I thought it was okay. It's definitely not my favorite of the Marvel movies. I think we actually talked about this movie a little bit on the Natalie Portman episode, but
Oh no, I think you're right. I think you're right.
The bad guy creature, like the big metal
the
silver
destroyer
samurai looking thing. Yeah. Something about it, the sound that it makes.
Oh, you don't like it?
There's something in my reptile brain. I can't deal with that noise.
Dude, I love him as a villain because Loki, we spoil on this podcast, by the way, sorry. Loki's controlling him.
Yes.
But like, I thought that it was a very cool way to utilize a big baddie, and Thor in general in this one for him. It's very like small town, like the whole thing is small town based. It's like, this is not an epic movie. Kenneth Branagh was the director, if I'm not mistaken. And so that was a unique choice to have him do it. He had done a lot of medieval stuff, if I'm not mistaken, in his career.
Kenneth Branagh's done a lot of
like
very
thespian
mixed stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's a good actor, and I think he's a decent director. So
yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate the dialogue, maybe a little bit of the costume, but I think this gave, like, Jesus, dude, this gave Chris, like, here's your stardom, bro. You're Thor in the MCU. Like, holy crap.
Because this came in between Iron Man and Captain America, right?
This was no. So it goes Iron Man 2, then we got Thor, then we got Captain America. I think that's how it went. Yeah.
So I think the first Thor basically being at the beginning of the MCU.
Yeah.
It's fine. If that movie, exactly as it is, came out now.
Dude, it would get roasted.
Yeah.
It would get roasted, you're right. But we had such lowered expectations back then than what we have now. But I mean, at this point, that guy did that movie, and I remember, wasn't he like a heartthrob instantly? Like, wasn't Chris all of a sudden
long golden locks and muscles? Like,
and muscles? Yes.
Well,
so on a side note, here's what he looked like.
That's what I'm saying.
Perfect getaway.
That's what I'm saying is like he was very fit. He was a very fit guy.
Fit.
But when he started the Thor role, he put on ridiculous amounts of muscle. There is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Thor. Oh my goodness. It's not Ragnarok, because he actually lost weight in Ragnarok. He's not as big in that one. I think it's Thor 2, if I'm not mistaken. And then in this newest one, Thor Love and Thunder, dude, he's so gigantor because he was coincidingly as well as like at the same time. I don't know why I said that. He's doing the Hulk Hogan movie.
Oh, he's going to do Hulk Hogan?
Yes, so that's why he's so big, though. Like, he got jacked. So in Thor Love and Thunder, he's like in that training regiment. But dude, he naturally is not that big, and it's not easy, he said in an interview, to keep this muscle on his frame. So
I can't imagine it's easy. Even I was watching an interview with Channing Tatum a while ago, and I know this is not about Channing Tatum, but they were talking about the new Magic Mike movie that came out last year or whatever. And he was talking about, whatever. He was talking about how he didn't want to do it originally at first because getting into that shape is hard, but maintaining that shape is miserable.
I imagine.
And I mean, because you have to have next to no body fat. So
a lot of the actors in the MCU have talked about this. Even Paul Rudd talked about this, that he he had to not eat anything for an entire year just to get in the shape that he wanted to be in.
Well, and Ant-Man isn't even that muscular.
No, but he's a cat burglar that does parkour.
He's very slim.
He had to be
also,
fit enough.
He's in a cast full of all of these muscular men.
You
and
can't
here comes
be flabby Majabby.
Flabby Paul Rudd.
So apparently these are the reasons that they did the whole like fat Thor thing too, is so that he didn't have to be as bulky and big. They also let him wear like a full vest, if you notice, in number 2. No, sorry, in Ragnarok. Ragnarok. And so, and they did the same thing with Batista in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They let him, they didn't have to do the full body paint, and he didn't have to be in shape anymore because he was like, dude, this is so hard for me to be this ripped. So, I mean, what's crazy though is like you start the role that way, and now people will start to cast you like, okay, hey, we need a big buff guy. Like, get Chris. And he's like, well, now I have to stay in shape. Jesus, what am I going to do? So I imagine a lot of his films will be like a badass star, right? Either an action star or those types of deals. So, but
Well, let's move on and find out.
sorry, I know we went really long on this one, but it really does showcase that we have done a lot of these street creds. How many actors can you guys remember that had this big of a movie, like 3 in or 4 in?
Not many.
Yeah, like a huge franchise.
Yeah.
Pretty much right out the gate in American audiences.
Right.
As an adult.
Unless it was a casting choice on purpose, because sometimes they go after no names. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
want, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then they did a video game on Thor, and then he was in The Cabin in the Woods.
Dude,
Banger.
that's such a great movie. Oh, that's such a great movie. In fact,
I love that movie.
Oh, I'm doing a podcast on Tuesday with the guys, and we're supposed to pick 3 hidden gems. I think I'm going to pick that one.
Yeah.
I think that's a freaking
Well, and
great
like
film.
you've always mentioned in the past, they make a lot of movies before they get big, and then they release them after. I imagine this was one of those because it came out in the same year.
Yeah,
as Thor.
he seems to me like I don't know why it feels that way, that it's like chronologically before, like production wise.
Sure.
But it does. Even his acting doesn't seem as good in that one. But I don't know.
I mean, but it's like a comedy horror. Like
It is a comedy horror. Yeah. Why do you have these? What
Well,
are these? What are these
and
science books?
I learned it from you. I hate to say it, but I love that movie so much. But I mean, even Chris Hemsworth, he's only in the movie for like less. He's like maybe half the movie. So
Yeah, because he dies on the bike, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
in the most epic death scene ever. And you
Yeah.
so he probably didn't have to commit a ton of time to doing this movie. So
Yeah,
like
you're
it
right.
was probably an easy decision. Same with like Captain Kirk, right? Where it's like I'm playing a pretty decent role in this medium-sized movie, but I'm also not having to commit to an entire shooting schedule. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I do wonder if Cabin in the Woods, it's a closed set. It's literally, they're just in this little spot. So it's not like it was epic in multiple locations. So
no, it essentially had
Yeah.
like
did it in a
two-
weekend.
what'd you say? Do it in a weekend? Is that what you said?
They probably did it in a weekend.
Yeah.
Well, it really only had technically 2 filming locations. And obviously there's different scenes and stuff, but it's like you have the cabin and then you have
Outside the cabin.
Well, you have the cabin and then you have like the office part. I don't know if I'd call it the office, but where all the creatures and stuff are.
but I just meant Crims.
Oh, right. I know what you're talking about.
I just meant Chris Hemsworth. Like, he didn't have to go very far. Like, he didn't have to do a whole
Right.
lot.
He wasn't in
Yeah.
a controlling room.
Yeah, in that
Yeah, or
situation.
whatever, yeah.
So,
Yeah, so no, I love that movie. I think it's really good. I think if you haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, you absolutely have to watch it. If you're worried
Disservice.
that it's
Yeah.
if you're worried that it's labeled a horror movie, don't. It's honestly, I think it's a comedy first and a horror second.
Yeah. I would say the dialogue proves that for sure. It's worth it. One of his, honestly, I'd say one of his best movies, but it's not because he's in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his character is pretty disposable.
He's the jock. Yeah.
Anybody could play that character, but he does a good job at it.
Agreed. Yep.
Next, he did The Avengers.
What is that?
There's like Iron Man and Cap America.
Captain America, and Thor.
and Thor.
Yes. Actually, we've talked about this before too. The casting, Ash and I talked about this recently. The casting for MCU was the early MCU, okay, phases 1 through 3 was so spot on. I cannot think of a casting choice they did that was a bad choice for the main superheroes. Is there anybody, Amanda, that they cast that you're like, that was a really bad decision? Like, would you have put another actor in any of those roles of the main Avengers?
I'll be honest, I didn't love Scarlett Johansson as the Black Widow,
Okay, sure.
but I think that they've kind of as the movies went on, they very much weren't trying to fit her into this role. They were trying to make the role fit her. So I think it works.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why they didn't make a Black Widow movie first like they did with everyone else.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I don't think she could have carried that movie.
I mean, she was a huge actress at the time. I don't know if that's true.
But she's very flat.
Do you think that you would have gotten Jessica Alba vibes from her doing a solo Black Widow early?
I think I would have gotten like Woody Allen vibes.
Ugh, God. And that's Scarlett Johansson's acting style.
That's what I mean. That's her
You're
style.
Right. You're right.
So
Yeah.
like
Ugh.
when they made the Black Widow movie, like the other characters they added were great, but
Yeah.
it was because you already cared and knew about her.
But I'm sitting here thinking specifically about the topic, podcast topic of Chris Hemsworth. I can't think of another person playing Thor now in my head. Like I'm trying to think of another actor that could have successfully done Thor the way he does. And I'm coming up blank. I really am. So,
Well, there's more.
Again, I think that
What'd you say? Oh,
I think that they have made the role fit him as a person. And so I
Yeah,
think
sure.
that that's why it works. So like, I'm trying to think of just like tall, blonde, white guys.
Yeah.
And I think of like Alexander Skarsgård from like True Blood and The Northman.
yeah,
that
he's
guy.
okay, but he doesn't have, dude, his face is
He's too Loki looking.
And I've seen him. He was just recently in an amazing movie called The Northman. Did you watch that, Amanda?
I haven't watched The Northman yet, but
Okay.
that he was kind of who I was thinking of originally. But if let's say he had been chosen for that role, they probably wouldn't have made Thor so almost the comic relief.
Well, and that's just
That's
it.
what I loved about
Because
Thor
I
was
watched-
the writing and his delivery
Mm-hmm.
with being such a stoic like dolt.
You want
like,
me to put the hammer down? Yes, that was funny. There's a lot of funny parts. Like he's just out of his element all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I watched The Northman and he's too serious of an actor. Like you're right. The MCU would have felt too stale, I think, in that role. Even though he's a great actor, I get oh my God, who's that method actor that we talk about all the time? There Will Be Blood.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes, I get vibes from him, the same style. So thank you, Chris. Thank you for being Thor. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
That's all you're trying to say.
Thank you for being
Okay. Next, he did Snow White and the Huntsman.
I don't think I watched that all the way through. What did you guys like it?
That's a doinker.
Oh, doinker. Sorry,
I didn't
Chris.
think it was awful. It definitely isn't like a traditional Snow White story.
Is
that
this
you
the
would
one with
think of.
Kristen Stewart?
Yeah, it's the first
Yes.
one, right?
That's why it's a
but
doinker.
Here's the thing. It's a doinker because she is the main character and she is the least
Likeable
likable
person.
in that movie.
And in the world.
But that's
Yes.
the thing. Like Charlize Theron was the queen, right?
Okay.
And then I'm saying right, like she was.
Yes.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember it. So,
Yes.
okay.
And then he's the huntsman.
Right.
They're the two more likable characters.
Right.
But the movie's about Snow White.
So wait, is he in it a lot?
It's called Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah, he's
okay.
he's like helping her
Okay.
to defeat the evil queen.
Is there dwarfs in it?
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Because that's dumb. If
I
there's
think it was more of like almost like Robin Hood's Merry Men kind of thing. I don't think
missed
they were dwarves.
opportunity.
So
Okay.
that movie is too bad because the idea works that you're telling like a non-Disney version of the
Yeah,
story.
Sure.
And they definitely lean more into like battles and stuff. I think if that movie was redone and came out now, it'd be very different after seeing Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, how you could do these sort of epic battles.
Wait, that came out after those movies.
I'm sorry. I mean like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, like the TV show. Like,
Okay. Oh, okay.
I just mean
Yeah,
where you're seeing these huge battles that look
Yeah.
incredible. Kristen Stewart was the wrong choice for that role.
What year did
Chris-
that come out?
2012.
Okay. Okay.
So-
So it's been, yeah.
I don't think that she had a good enough reputation at that point to like make it a successful movie. I think if they had picked anybody else, it probably would have scared. And we'll see moving forward. They did make a sequel,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
but spoiler alert, she's not in it.
They're
No,
like,
because
cut the fat.
Yeah, like
So-
she was the problem.
the only things I thought were decent about the first one were him and then Charlize Theron, which is who they make the movie of going forward, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, that movie's the only thing worth watching in that first Snow White and the Huntsman is because the evil queen is amazing.
So
Yeah.
wait, is Chris
There's good parts.
is Chris Hemsworth like a good character though? Like in that, like he plays a decent role?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
Next, he did Red Dawn.
Oh, so good. I talked to you about this. You haven't seen it.
It has a 5.3.
I don't know why, because I think they did a good job. I thought it was a cool new take. Amanda, have you ever seen the first one with Charlie Sheen?
I've seen the original.
Okay, so they redo this, and we may have talked about this already, but they redo it, and because the first one is based somewhere in,
I think it's Idaho.
yeah, or something like that, and the new one is based in Spokane, Washington.
Oh, really?
And so basically, in the first one, it is what if Russia came over and started an attack on our soil, like in our states. Well, this one, it's North Korea. So if North Korea was to come and they land in Spokane and it's a group of like 5 kids defending themselves in the town, I thought it was well done. I don't know why it got such bad reviews on
I
it.
think we talked about this in the movies that were set in Washington or set in Seattle.
Oh, I think you're right. Yep. Oh, well, because I think Amanda is the one that grabbed all of those, and I brought that up. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
So go listen to that.
Go listen.
Next, he did Rush.
Oh my God, it's such a good movie, Amanda. Have you seen this one? Rush.
I don't know
About
if
the
I have.
F1 Formula racing,
No, I haven't.
which is also
Can't
Formula One
imagine-
racing.
I can't imagine that Amanda's like, ooh, a racing movie. I'm going to throw that one on.
Okay,
Ooh,
listen.
this movie's about cars? Let me
Listen.
put it in.
It is
it in.
absolutely. Dude, who's the director?
Let me rewind my VHS cassette.
Howard, right? Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
Okay, dude. Anybody, I don't care whether you like racing or not. That's not really what this is about. The editing in this movie, the sound design is absolutely incredible, and Chris Hemsworth's character is awesome, and so is, and I feel bad, the guy that played Zemo in Marvel.
Dan. I just.
Oh, that guy's in it too?
Yes.
Baron
Daniel,
Zemo?
Daniel Bruhl.
There you go. So it's basically about these two being rivals in F1 racing, and they go back and forth. I think it's like 80s through the 90s or something like that. Well, they go back and forth. What's his name? Daniel Bruhl.
Yeah.
So Daniel
Baron
Bruhl,
Zemo.
he gets into a horrific accident while they're competing. Gets burns all over his face, down into his lungs and everything, and nurses himself back to health to start racing again with skin grafts and effing, like, it's crazy. And it just goes to show like how even though you can be bitter rivals, you can still have a respect for one another. And then it kind of goes into the whole culture of racing, and you find yourself caring about these characters so much. But I highly recommend Rush to anybody, whether you're a racing fan or not. And Chris Hemsworth, I said it, Helmsworth.
Take a shot.
Take a shot. Chris Hemsworth is phenomenal in that role. Phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. And he looks thinner. So this is where I noticed that he like wasn't working out as much for the Thor roles. He's not as ripped, not as buff, if you will.
Well,
But-
next was Thor: The Dark World.
No.
I'm sorry, what?
No, it was released, yes. But
Yes.
I think
That's
it was
what I'm
yeah,
saying. They
yeah.
came out in the same year.
Yeah, you're right. I think that he did Rush after. I think he did Rush after.
Okay.
Production wise, but it doesn't matter. Thor: The Dark World. Okay, this is the redheaded stepchild of the MCU, because not
anymore, bitch.
Well, that's true. Phase 4 was a shit show, or has been most of the time a shit show.
Yeah.
But what's worse is that I personally think Thor: The Dark World is better than Love and Thunder. That's me. I don't even know if I want to get into it because we talked about it so so much, but maybe Chris Hemsworth was like, oh crap, I signed how many years of contract to do these movies, and this one's pretty rough. But he himself is not a bad actor in it. That's not why. It's just the dark elves are not interesting. So
yeah, I think it's too bad because I think that they got what's his name, Christopher Eccleston. I think that was the name of him. To be the big bad guy for the Malekith or whatever his name is. For the movie.
I always thought it was Ralph Fiennes until I realized they look alike.
Yeah, they do. So he was in Doctor Who, and I think he's actually a pretty decent actor because he's been in a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I knew him from 28 Days Later. He's like the bad guy in 28 Days Later, yeah.
I think he's a really good actor, and I think he plays a pretty decent, like the character he plays is pretty decent. I just think that the writing of that movie really wasn't very interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It was just, kind of another generic Skybeam situation.
Yeah.
And
yeah, right.
The whole the color scheme of the movie was like dark gray, dark, and then red. And
yeah, you're right.
I think that the movie wasn't thought of as like a whole idea. To me, it very much seemed like a movie that was written based on production drawings.
Oh, sure. I can see that.
Of someone having this idea of like, oh, this scene could look really cool. And then they made the movie around that.
It's just like all concept art sketches. And then they just decide to do their production design around it. And they're like, do you have a script? Oh, sorry, boss. We didn't write that one yet. Whoopsie dipsies.
Yeah. So
just staring at me.
I think it's the worst one. But not by much.
I don't think it's the worst one, only because him and Jane have good banter back and forth. The ether was not explained very well. I think that was another issue, is that this whole goopy thing that goes into her, I wish they would have used the stone a different way. Now, I do understand each stone had to have a unique attribute. And so one of the stones was going to turn into an ooey gooey floaty air thing. But the fact that it was the ether and it's supposed to change reality, but then it goes into her, none of that makes sense from a plot point at all.
No.
The bad guy needed to use it to change reality and not have it be a Jane Foster thing. And then of course this is supposed to have caused her cancer and stuff in the fourth one. So I just think it's a bad device to care about the series, but Thor is not bad in it at all. There's nothing wrong with his performance in that film.
Yeah, a lot of the acting is fine.
Yeah.
It just isn't that great.
They also change out his four protectors.
Oh, his friends.
Yeah, they change out one of them to Zachary Levi. He gets switched out. And replaced, and their banter, that's where it gets bad writing. The banter between all four of them. So
it's corny. Yeah. A lot of the plot devices are very convenient. A lot of the writing is kind of corny, clunky.
Yeah.
The acting is fine, but I think that the writing left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. Sorry, Chris. Sorry. He knows that's the blacklist on him. He knows.
Next movie is Black Hat.
It's like a hacker. It's I never saw it.
Is he the hacker? Is this Swordfish all over again?
No, Halle Berry's not in it.
Getting paid for the titties?
Then he did Avengers Age of Ultron.
Which is arguably the worst Avengers as well.
Honestly, I forget about it.
I think a lot of people do just because they're Ash does because she hates James Spader.
I hate James Spader's voice.
I'm not a fan. Well, Ashley, think about it this way. I thought it was John Lithgow for a really long time.
That's funny.
So
that
maybe just think it's John Lithgow.
So do you know why Age of Ultron, people have a little sour taste in their mouth? Most people can't pinpoint it, but I think I figured it out.
I think it's just the story's boring.
I think that Quicksilver brings that movie down.
Oh.
100%.
Wait, that he dies?
The fact that you ended up with two Quicksilvers in different MCUs,
at the same time,
people compared them And unfortunately, I love, I forget this guy's
Evan
name.
Peters.
No.
Oh.
I love Evan Peters. But as an actor,
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is an incredible actor. He's a great actor. He got dogged on this one. He got given a doink role. And the problem is all they're doing is building Wanda.
Yeah.
And they just threw him to the curb. And it is Magneto's children, which is a huge plot device in all of the MCU, in the Marvel comics. And so they did him dirty. The whole ground ripping up from the sky, right, is in this one.
Sokovia or whatever
the Sokovia stuff.
Stupid.
It just became really like absurd almost with that type of stuff. But the actual movie up until that point is not bad. The whole Tony Stark and Bruce Banner working together to make an AI and
them making Ultron, which kind of turned into Vision situation.
Yep.
That works.
Yeah.
Even when Ultron is like kind of fucked up and he like sings the Pinocchio song.
Yeah, and he's creepy walking in from the shadows.
That's
creepy.
really good.
Yeah.
Like there's certain they tiptoe and into like funny interesting horror elements in this movie, and I love those scenes. But
was that Joss Whedon that directed that one as well?
Couldn't tell you.
Oh.
But the whole the Quicksilver thing was a mistake. I think that the problem was they had already built and probably signed these people onto contracts, and then X-Men came out.
Yeah, and they're just damn it. And X-Men's was funnier and left a lasting impression for a guy that's only in it for 2 minutes.
Andy and I talked about this, right? So they're supposed to be Magneto's children.
Yeah.
But Disney doesn't have rights to X-Men.
Right, at that
point. So
point.
they can't build that storyline.
Right.
So what's another storyline they could build is fueling Wanda's angst.
Sure.
Yes.
She needs to have that grief to fuel everything that goes on from there.
Right. So they had to kill him off for story. Yeah, you're right.
And I do understand it, but it's too bad because I agree with you, Andy. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson's a great actor.
Yeah.
I think that he was very underutilized in the movie just in general, but it's too bad because I think that he would have been a really cool one to keep around to see. Because, I mean, the Flash, quote unquote, type characters are fucking cool.
So cool. I know the whole Speed
X-Men,
Force stuff, too. Yeah.
Yes. X-Men showed you how cool a Flash movie could be.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They laid the groundwork for the DC, didn't they?
Yes. Seeing him, and then the song "If I Could Have Time in a Bottle" while he's running around and picking stuff out and moving stuff.
Yeah,
you're obviously it would get old if that was every single scene in the movie.
Sure,
but
you're right. But they did.
If you had a movie with a couple of those, that would be freaking cool.
Yeah,
and
I 100% agree with you.
It's too bad, and I think that it's hard because it also, like you said, Ashley, introduces Wanda as the new sort of big bad. And it doesn't work for me. I think in that one, there was those missteps were enough to put the sour taste in people's mouths, even though I would say 90% of the movie's really good. So Chris Hemsworth, his Thor character starts to be questioned a little bit. This is where people are trying to pick up the hammer in the second one. Do you remember that? Yes.
And Captain America wiggles it a little bit and he's scared. He looks down. He's like, I knew he wouldn't. I knew he couldn't lift my hammer.
That part's cool because, it's not one of the first times, but you get to see them being quote unquote real people.
Yes.
And
yeah, right.
When they're all trying to lift the hammer, you see Tony Stark trying to lift it with his gauntlets and stuff.
Yeah, right. He's got the jets coming off of it.
Yeah, and then you see Captain America's worthy because it's not about strength; it's about worthiness.
And then Vision just picks it right up.
Yes,
and he looks at Thor and he grows a cape.
Yes,
I mean, there's just some fun moments in that movie, and I think it gets kind of the short end of the stick, but. Unfortunately, aside from the moments I just talked about with the Thor, Chris Hemsworth character is not really a thing in that one.
It really feels like Thor's kind of like a side character in a lot of the ensemble movies.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not the one running the show.
Ever.
It's
Yeah.
always Tony Stark or Steve Rogers. So,
Well, because
yeah.
at that time they were building Civil War.
Correct.
Right.
You're right.
So
They
he
had to
isn't
have
going to
that.
be number one.
No, not at all. But also, don't him and Hulk have a fight in that one too?
They had a fight in Avengers.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And
That's
then
right.
the
I'm
cool,
sorry.
and even in Avengers, there are some pretty fucking cool fight scenes in Avengers, especially when it's Captain America and Iron Man versus Thor in the beginning.
Oh, dude, yeah.
that
when
was
he,
a really freaking cool
yeah,
scene.
when he hits the shield and you get to see like what vibranium does. Like it was
Yes.
awesome. Yeah.
Like
it
it
was
vibrates.
awesome. Sorry. All right, Chris, what did you
Cool.
do after?
Well, he followed that one up with Vacation.
What is
Never
Vacation?
even heard of it.
It's the sequel to the National Lampoon.
What?
What's the Chevy Chase like Vacation?
Yeah, National Lampoon's
Family Vacation.
Yeah.
Family Vacation. It's a follow up to that
No.
with Ed Helms.
Ugh.
I watched it. It was as terrible as you would expect it to be.
Wait,
I don't
is this
remember Chris
Ed
Hemsworth
Helms
in
with
it.
his family, right?
Yeah, it's
So
him
is
and I think Christina
Chris-
Apple.
So then Chris is just playing like an offshoot character in that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even remember his role in
That's
it. to be
not his
honest.
fault. That's not his fault. Fair.
So is Ed Helms' character, do you remember, is he Clark Griswold, or is it just the same idea that it's kind of a ding-dong taking his family on vacation?
Isn't it his son? Isn't he supposed to be
I think
playing?
his name is Rocky Griswold.
Is it, if his name is Rusty, that's
Rusty?
the name of his
It's
son
probably
from
Rusty.
the movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, because he's like, I used to do this with my family back in the day.
Yes,
so-
Rusty. Sorry.
Okay. So he plays
All right.
Rusty. Okay.
Yeah, and he wants to take him to Wally World.
Isn't Chris Hemsworth
Interesting.
supposed to be like a sexy guy?
I mean, isn't that what he is?
No, I know, but I mean, that's his character is like, he's a sexy guy or whatever, and he's like seducing the wife or something.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Then his next movie was In the Heart of the Sea.
Is that a movie about fishing?
It's about the Titanic.
It's about whaling.
Same thing. They're just big fish.
It's inspired by Moby Dick, apparently.
Interesting.
No idea.
I definitely skipped it. Not on purpose. Sorry, Chris, but I skipped it.
And then they did The Huntsman Winter's War.
Okay. Didn't watch it. You girls, go. Because I have no
I didn't
idea.
watch it.
Okay. Amanda, go.
I didn't watch it. Is that the
I did.
is that the sequel?
Yes.
I remember, I think I saw like half of it and I really just wasn't interested. The pieces that I liked about the first one didn't carry over.
Oh, gotcha.
So I found it to be boring and I'm pretty sure I shut it off.
They were probably trying to just capitalize on the fact that Chris Hemsworth was well known at this point.
Sure.
And they're like, well, we did this first one. People didn't really care about it. But if we make him like
So he's the main
the
character
main
in this
character,
one?
maybe
Okay.
they'll grab on.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
Is it just like a fantasy war film almost?
Sure.
Okay. Gotcha.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Then he did Ghostbusters.
Oh,
Oof. That's a big oof.
it's not his fault. It's not his fault.
Okay, let me get into this one. So this is the 2016 female Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
He plays the like kind of ditzy receptionist role. I think that as a kind of him being handsome and playing stupid, it's funny. It is funny. And his comedic timing is pretty okay.
Yeah.
He was really let down by how bad the writing was in this movie. Because the stupid stuff that they wanted him to do, you could tell he went for it. He was
Yeah. Sure.
like, you want me to be weird? You want me to be stupid? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And they really, it was just dumb.
Well, it's
Like,
a very
just
different
really
role
dumb.
than he had ever played, right? Like, what else was similar to his to like a goofy nerd who's also
wasn't-
ripped?
He
Like,
wasn't
weird.
really a nerd.
Oh, okay. Because I thought he was supposed to be the version of
He-
not Dottie. Oh my God, what's her name?
Janine.
Janine. Yeah.
So, well, the thing is, he is supposed to be like Janine. Well, Janine didn't get a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
She gets a little more in the second one, but they don't really
Sure.
build her character. So this one, they give him more a little bit character, but I think he's like an actor because he brings like headshots.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
So just the idea is that he's stupid, but they hire him anyway because they think he's hot.
I have a hot take on this movie. I didn't hate this movie. I remember people hating on it, and I was like, I kind of thought that it was cool to have a female cast. I do not like Leslie Jones. Unfortunately, I don't think she's a good comedian. I don't think that her timing is right. She reminds me a lot of Kenan Thompson. I feel like they both play the exact same character no matter what like sketch they're doing on SNL. But I thought she just brought that. She was just Leslie Jones from SNL in a Ghostbusters movie. And I was like, okay. But I didn't mind Kate McKinnon as the Egon character. I thought she was like awkward and goofy and like eccentric, and I didn't mind it. I think Melissa McCarthy was supposed to be playing Ray, like the Ray character.
They're all trying to be the comic relief, and that doesn't work.
That is hard. I would say there is a jumble. I wish they would have like stayed in their lane on roles. But then Kristen Wiig is Venkman, or supposed to be. So,
well, I think it's hard because I think they were trying to very much set themselves apart, right? They're like, oh, this is not the original Ghostbusters. But then it's very much like, well, yeah, it is. So,
yeah, because all of them had a similar role in that.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because, and I accept that I know I'm a little more critical of this than other people are, but the Kate McKinnon's role as the Egon, Egon is not slapstick comedy. He's not doing all the zany off the wall shit she was doing.
Yeah, you're right. She was zany. Yeah.
He's very dry and he's really nerdy, but he's also very intelligent. And they did a good job of making them all seem intelligent.
Sure.
But like Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig are both trying to play almost the Venkman character. It just doesn't work. So I don't hate this movie. I just think that it could have been so much better. And I think that they tried so hard to be like, this movie's hilarious. This movie's so funny.
Yeah.
That when it came out and it was just kind of like a solid 5 out of 10, it just like, for all the shit that you said this movie was so good, it needed to be better.
I will give it a 7 out of 10. And the reason is because I think if people weren't so butthurt that it wasn't Ghostbusters 3 like they really wanted, then it probably wouldn't have gotten as much flack. So
yeah, I think that's unfortunate. I think that it's hard because the director and all the actors and stuff did this huge like media thing and we're like, oh no, it's not a remake, it's not a sequel, it's its own thing. But then they kept having all these callbacks.
Right.
And it's like, if it's going to be its own thing, make it its own thing. Like Ghostbusters Afterlife. Like it's very much like a long awaited sequel, but it's still kind of its own story.
I loved that movie. I thought it was great. Yeah.
I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. And if you knew nothing about the original Ghostbusters, you weren't like seeing all these little like nods to you and not understanding.
They do tell you the, a little bit of the history enough for it. The sad part though, is that 2016, I think, right, was in this movie. That one did nothing for Chris Hemsworth. Like that one legitimately.
I think that might have hurt him a tiny bit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I think it might have been like, oh man, you really messed up that role or you really messed up that character. And I mean, this was one we hadn't seen before. So it's not like there was any expectations, but it's almost like when you see his face, you expect him to be better than it was, right? Like that's not fair. That really sucks. But
I will say, for what it's worth with this movie, I think that this was the very first time, not to say that he hadn't done some comedic stuff, but this was the first time that you see him at all be in a straight up comedy.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
You see that like he can land jokes and he can be funny. And
That's
so
what I was gonna say.
I think
the only comedy he's done is the Thor.
Is his Thor lines.
Role. Like those lines, that's the only comedy he's done.
Right.
So I think it's a lot different for him, especially to be in a room full of women who are known to be really funny
They're
people.
all comedians. Yeah.
Like, that's a big competition right there.
That was probably definitely scary for him. Yeah.
Well, and I think that there are times where he's the funnier one in the scene.
Agreed.
Because he's probably more subtle. Like you said, like the writing made him be a little bit out of his element, but he's more subtle of an actor in his like portrayal of roles than any of those women.
No, his delivery is not
exactly.
Is not on the nose, like over the top stuff. Yeah. Okay.
So next he was uncredited in Doctor Strange.
And
then he did Thor Ragnarok.
Arguably the best Thor. Maybe not arguably. It is the best Thor.
Yeah.
It is the best Thor. Yeah.
I'll even go as far as to say it's arguably one of the best Marvel movies.
Whoa.
Yeah, top 3 for sure. It is.
Yeah,
it's top 3.
I know we've talked about this movie a few times, but this is one of my favorite MCU movies. Period. It's my favorite Thor movie. I am a huge Taika fan. I love that. I love his writing. I think that the movie is a banger from the start all the way to the end. I think that it doesn't ever lose steam.
I 100% agree. And because of the start of that film, you finally get to see Thor, who he used to rib a little bit, right? But now you get to see like full on sarcastic Thor. And I loved it. He's literally spinning in front of, what is that villain's name? In that one, the fire god of Ragnarok. What's his name?
I don't remember.
Tartar sauce. I don't remember his name. Anyway, he's like, I'm going to come and destroy Asgard. And he's like, hold on. I'm coming back around. Like that writing and the comedic timing of that film is phenomenal. The scenes of him getting his hair cut, like, right, is the first time Thor loses his freaking hair, that has been a part of him. The nods to the Willy Wonka like scene and him screaming, like, you didn't get to see this side of Thor in any of the films. So this was really cool.
I mean, honestly, for me, the casting is amazing.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum, even like having the Hulk in there for as much as he was.
Yeah.
You'd think that it wouldn't work, but it absolutely does.
It was great.
And you'd think when you think about that movie and you think about all the storyline that happens in that movie.
Yeah.
Odin dies, Hela comes back, she takes over Asgard. The whole time he's on this other planet trying to get the Hulk to come back to be Mark Ruffalo to help him take over Asgard. There's so much that happens in this movie and it never feels too bulky.
You're right. You're right. And it doesn't feel messy or complicated. No. And I mean, to me, this is one of Chris Hemsworth defining performances.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that is a huge thing on the director, but just them as actors, you can tell that like they're comfortable with their roles. Even Mark Ruffalo is the Hulk. It's great.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Great.
Tessa Thompson, who plays
she's a great
Valkyrie.
Yep.
She's incredible. Kate Blanchett as Hela is amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
The character design of her and the horns that she wears.
Oh, super cool.
They're like beautiful. It's
and she's
amazing.
able to like, control it. No, that film.
That movie is so good.
Yeah.
I think that if you've never seen it, you absolutely have to watch it. That's a no-brainer. But if you don't like it, I genuinely want to know why.
Yeah, I would love to know why. If you hate that film or even dislike it, because I don't see a reason why. Unless you don't like Jeff Goldblum, which he is an acquired taste for some people.
Yes, I'll give that. Yeah, if you just say that you don't like Chris Hemsworth, you don't like Jeff Goldblum, I guess I can't argue that. But
yeah, that's fair. But no, it's
so good.
It's worth it on every level. Okay, what's next?
12 Strong.
Nope, I did not.
Never heard of it.
What's it about?
Special Forces in Afghanistan.
Oh, he started doing this type of stuff where he's like a
Action Jackson.
Yeah. No, he did. He did a lot of those.
Then he did Avengers Infinity War.
Banger.
Yeah.
And then Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, that's okay.
I missed that one.
It's like a wannabe Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like it.
Gotcha.
It's
Gotcha.
okay. He does play a character very different to Thor. He's kind of like, he's got kind of brownish hair, like facial hair. He plays kind of a dickwad.
Okay.
So it is very different casting for him, but the movie as a whole is pretty forgettable.
All right. Avengers Endgame was next.
Boom, boom.
But this is where, sorry, I do want to talk about this movie for a minute. I know we talked at length about how great this movie is, but this is where you get Fat Thor.
Oh,
Right.
that's right. Yes, you do get Fat Thor. He gets his hair back. His eye comes back, right? He gets all of that, if I'm not mistaken, in that one.
Yeah, doesn't doesn't Rocket help him fix his eye or something like
I
that?
think Rocket just steals somebody else's eye and gives it to him.
Yeah, I think he gives him like a bionic eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I think his performance in this movie is incredible. Him being the big, what did he call him? Big Lebowski or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
it's very much that role. Yeah.
you see him question his own strength because
Sure.
he doesn't have his hammer the same, the hammer's gone and all this stuff.
His brother's dead from the first movie, right?
Yes.
As far as he knows. So
Yeah. So and then his acting, like the scene where they're fighting Thanos and Captain America wields the hammer is amazing.
It is awesome. That's awesome.
And you see him and he like, and that's when Thor gets it back. Like that's when he when he gets Stormbreaker and he like him and Captain America fight Thanos. It's like there's a moment there where he like does some lightning thing and now like his hair's braided and like he's in a whole different outfit.
Yeah.
And,
that's right. Yeah.
No, the scene where he reacts to Chris Evans holding the hammer is amazing.
Yeah. Oh man, it gives me chills. But you're right. At this point, he hadn't done a bad role in the Marvel ones after Thor 2. Which again, I'm sorry, it wasn't even Chris Hemsworth that made it bad, but all of those were just skyrocketing these actors up.
Yeah, the Thor 2 in general is just forgettable, but yeah, no, I mean, Endgame is amazing.
That's awesome.
Men in Black International.
Oh my God, I forgot that was a movie.
That's a big oof. That's a big oof, baby.
I think that one was a doinker. I didn't
with
enjoy
Tessa
that.
Thompson too?
Yes, it is.
They're together, right? In the film.
Here's what I'll say about that movie. I'm a huge Men in Black fan. I think that it's easily, the worst one.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Them, Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, it works, right? Because it works in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
They work. Mm-hmm. He works as like a secret agent kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That works. I think I'd be more interested in seeing him and Tessa Thompson in more of like a, not necessarily love interest, but like Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of movie.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be more interesting.
I honestly don't remember the plot of that one. I know where normally it's aliens are there and they gotta stop them.
It is. They end up on some island and it's weird. And I just remember the whole time I was like, what am I? What's happening?
Fair.
I remember being like, I'm paying attention to this movie. Why can I not follow this?
Yeah. Well, we got a doinker there after his big MCU.
Yeah, it's too bad because I think that they were trying to make a spin-off series.
Yeah.
Which, if they had done it, if the story had been if good at all, I think it could have been easily done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next, he did the Jay and Silent Bob reboot as himself. So I don't know if it was a big role. I know none of us saw it. And then after that, he did Extraction.
Wonderful. Have either of you seen Extraction?
Is that Netflix?
It is Netflix. And when I watch a Netflix movie, my expectations are lowered because I feel like it rolls into the B tier on a lot of them. But in this specific scenario, This is not a crazy plot. This is not anything like extravagant when it comes to writing. It is just straight up a cinematic freaking masterpiece. It is, the shots are incredible. Chris Hemsworth himself does a great job. He is literally just like a black ops covert agent going in to extract an asset, and he just gets into some heavy shit, and it's awesome.
Yeah, because he's like a mercenary or something,
Yes,
right?
it is awesome. I thought that movie was great.
Isn't he trying to like? Isn't there a boy or someone?
Yeah, but I think at some point he gets stuck. I don't know, either behind enemy lines or they swarm him, and him getting out of this situation and the chaos, and you have to watch this. Some of the transitions and some of the cinematography in this is stuff I had never seen before, or at least wasn't as memorable. Like this film is worth a watch for that alone, but it is very much an action flick. So
yeah,
but he did a great job.
I remember when it came out, I was like, oh, I'll watch that at some point, and then I just never did.
No, I watched it just kind of like, I think I was just like, I don't have anything to watch, and I just popped it on, and I was like, wow, that was really good. So,
well, I like action movies, so I'll watch it.
Cool.
All right. Next, he was an episode of James and the Giant Peach with Taika and friends.
Okay.
Interesting.
As Aunt Sponge.
Okay. Weird
Sounds
role.
Weird.
Yep.
He was in an episode of the Loki series.
Right.
As
Okay.
Throg.
Throg.
So I'm assuming like an alternate.
Thor. Oh, okay. Yeah, like a variant.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's Frog Thor, isn't it? Yeah,
Is it?
Is it?
Okay.
It's Frog Thor.
I love it.
He was in 2 episodes of What If.
Okay, sure.
Yes, but he played like Party Thor. Do you remember?
No, I never saw the What If series other than Captain Carter or whatever.
Captain Carter. I think that's the first one.
Yeah.
I will say that, well, because you've seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness,
Yeah,
right?
I did, yeah.
Then you should watch it just because you see some of those characters in
Yeah,
What If.
that's cool. That's cool.
There are a couple episodes of What If that I think are worth watching. There are some that are not.
Okay,
But
sure.
I think there's only like 6.
Yeah, there's not a lot, and I know I could go back through those, but sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I need to be in a mindset to watch an animation, if that makes sense.
Not really, but I respect your opinion.
Really? Like live action and animated don't feel different to you?
No, they do. I just don't
Okay,
have to
yeah.
be in a perfect mindset.
Oh.
If the
have
story
to-
sounds good to me
yeah.
at that moment, I'll watch it.
No, for some reason, live action, like that pulls me in way faster than an animated film. So,
Yeah,
okay.
fair enough.
Okay.
All right. Next, he was in an episode of True Story.
Okay.
It looks like maybe a Netflix series. And he was Chris Hemsworth, so I don't know
All right.
exactly what his role was in that. He was uncredited in a movie called Interceptor.
I don't know that.
And then his next movie was Spiderhead.
I've never even heard of that.
Neither have I. It's got Miles Teller in it.
I like Miles Teller. I would absolutely watch that movie.
Let's see. In the near future, convicts are offered the chance to volunteer as medical subjects to shorten their sentence.
Oh.
One such subject for a new drug capable of generating feelings of love begins questioning the reality of his emotions.
I mean, I'll be honest. It sounds good.
Interesting.
I like the plot.
Yeah. Then he did Thor: Love and Thunder.
Okay, listen. Over the top, crazy. You can go into that movie and just be like, I'm just going to be entertained for like surface level jokes, silliness, crazy ass goats, weird shit. The Jane coming back into the Marvel universe and that stuff. But we talked about this previously. They stopped in this film. They ruined Thor being a likable guy. There was no reason to want to root for him. There was no he lost his soul literally in that film. He's like a joke of Thor in that film the entire time.
I think it's really hard because you're coming off of Avengers. This whole thing is over. You're coming off of like Ragnarok, there's all this stuff happening, and I think it's interesting having sort of a whole new story that doesn't really relate to anything previous. And
sure, you're right.
So in that aspect, I think that's hard.
Sure.
But
sure.
I think it's hard because with Thor, you want it to be as good as Thor Ragnarok, and it just wasn't.
Right.
And so I think because of that, I think a lot of people were really disappointed. That being said, I think Thor Ragnarok works because it balances out the really serious action, serious stuff with lighter moments that are still serious.
Sure. Right.
Thor Love and Thunder is super silly, jokey. And then there's really serious moments. I have seen it twice now.
Okay.
2 or 3 times now. I watched it on the airplane home from Georgia.
Oh, okay.
And I will say that I didn't hate it, but it's one of the worst MCU movies.
I don't have a problem with Christian Bale's villain. I think that he would have been wonderful, but again, I get a feeling like I did with Quicksilver that they did him dirty because he's in a comedy movie where he's supposed to be serious. So
Gore the God Butcher is a huge character.
Yeah.
He is a formidable foe.
Right.
And they made him a crybaby.
Yes.
And
Right.
The scenes where he is using the sword to create these like shadow monsters to like attack the town, the New Asgard, and capture all the kids. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's a good, decent scene.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree with that.
And then the scene where they're like on his planet, the like at World's End essentially, and they're fighting these like negative shadow monsters.
Yeah.
That works.
I was okay. I don't know, but everything also goes black and white, right? For a little while.
Because it's like the end of the world. That works, especially with them being all shiny and gold and red.
Right.
And then everything there being very much like black and white. That works. But it's Thor's not serious at all.
Right.
And then Tessa Thompson she went from being like very just kind of like chaotic neutral. Like she's going to do whatever she needs to do for herself.
Right.
But then they make her the president of New Asgard.
Yeah, that was a unique choice. Now, I understand a character arc, but she didn't have one. She just was like a different person that cared now.
In one movie now, now she cares.
Right.
And then them going to like Olympus or whatever and meeting Zeus and stuff. I think that Russell Crowe as Zeus kind of worked.
It was okay. I think that they could have done that scene way better.
I think the scene as a whole was stupid. I think that movie, it was just too bad.
Well, I don't know how many Thors Chris Hemsworth has on contract. I don't know how many he's supposed to do, because I've heard the 5 they want to end it and basically like move on from his like Thor story.
I wouldn't be shocked if they end it with that.
Well, I can tell you it's coming out.
Okay, sweet.
Well, this year we have Extraction 2,
which I will watch. First one was great.
And then next year Furiosa.
Oh,
he's supposed to be in that?
Yeah.
Interesting. Wait, how do they do that? I don't remember how that one ended with her.
It's a prequel.
Oh, so how she like lost her arm and all that stuff?
The origin story of
Okay,
Furiosa.
that's cool. Dude, that's awesome. Mad Max was dope.
And then in 2026, Avengers Secret Wars.
Yeah, I know Thor has to be in that. Loki will probably come back because of the variants. So you'll have some correlation there, and Jonathan Majors and all that stuff. So
And then you had mentioned a Hulk Hogan biopic.
Yes, I'm stoked for that one. That'd be awesome.
And then his last one coming out under here is Down Undercover.
Is this literally like a Crocodile Dundee
ripoff? There's no synopsis, but from the title, it sounds to me like it's going to be like an Australian spy.
Okay, gotcha.
I would love that.
Gotcha.
Right?
I would love that. So is that it though? That's the end of his filmography. So I will say this. I know we talk a lot about it because we have watched so many of his films, but that's not a huge filmography.
No,
No,
because a lot of it's Thor.
A lot of it's Thor.
I think Chris Evans had more.
Oh, absolutely. He had a huge
Yeah.
He had a big early. Well, maybe he didn't actually. I think when we went back through it, like he played like the jockey.
Yeah,
Heartthrob
but he had
character for a little
several
bit.
of those. Like
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth literally had 3 movies, and then he was Thor.
Yeah, and his first role is freaking in Star Trek,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
giant blockbuster Star Trek movie. So here's the question: is what are you guys going to go back and watch that maybe you haven't yet?
I think I'm gonna probably watch Extraction.
Oh, please do, and we got to talk about it. You got to let me know if you liked it. What about
Okay.
you, Ash?
I feel like I want to rewatch Star Trek. Mm-hmm. I know you say it's only a small role in there, but
I think, and he did well. Honestly, as Kirk's father, he did a good job. I liked it. I did.
That movie's good.
Yeah. I will, even though I don't want to, I'm going to go back and watch Ghostbusters, and I'm going to go back and watch Men in Black because I have forgotten both of those films.
both of them.
Both. I've forgotten both of them. So,
Sweet.
guys, if you love Chris Helmsworth, I just want to make sure people are still drinking.
Yeah.
If you guys like Chris Hemsworth and you enjoy what he's done, is there something that you're a huge fan of that we briefly mentioned or that you think we're wrong on? Amanda, where can people yell at us from?
Okay, check out our Instagram at Real Awkward Podcast. You can send us messages or whatever. Tell us what movies we need to go check out. If you also, for $3 a month, you can support the show. Patreon.com/Real Awkward Podcast. Get you exclusive episodes and maybe some other stuff, depending on how I feel that day. And that's what I got.
Excellent.
And
What?
come back next week as we continue our Chris saga.
Our Chris's. Let's just see how long we can do this until we're bored of it.
Yeah.
Wait, are we? Okay, yeah, sure.
Chris is forever.
Chris is forever. All right, guys. As always, we love you. We're awkward. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.